by the bankers, the politicians, and the bureaucrats. They're not going to let the people vote. Democracy, wake up, children. It's called fascism. Let's call a spade a spade. All these politicians are nothing more than the front men for the criminal banks and the businesses, the multinationals that are grabbing everything. Who could make this crap up? I got it. You lost your job. Unemployment rate is around 20%. You're losing your home. You're being foreclosed on. You can't make ends meet. You're almost out on the street. We're going to raise your taxes. We're going to cut your services, and every service you pay for, you're going to pay more for. You know the language, right? You look, as a trend forecaster, language is very important. And they use the term over there in the Europeans of the Troika, the European Commission, the European Central Bank, and the European and the International Monetary Fund. The Troika is the one, these are the group that are coming up with the plans for austerity for the countries that can't pay their debt. Troika? How about calling them the crime families? How about calling them the Lanskys, the Genoveses, and the Capones? Could you do that? Let's stop this Troika crap. I've said this over and over, Alex, and I'm going to keep saying it. If the names on Wall Street were named Celente, Caruso, Mondavi, Puccini, Rossini, they call it the mafia. Oh, no, but they got nice names over there. They have Jean-Paul Trichet. They have Christina Lagarde. They have fancy names. These are nothing more than loan sharks. Hey, Alex, you need some money? Yeah, you don't worry about the fundraiser. I'll loan you the money. Yeah, I'll give it to you low interest rates. Don't worry about it. And then you can't pay me back. Gerald, business slowed down. I can't pay you back. I want the money. I can't pay you the money. I want the money. Okay, now you're going to start cutting the salaries of all your employees. And then let's pretend you're a country. You're going to start taxing everybody because Celente wants his money. And that's not enough. I don't have enough. I want your buildings. I want your water supply. I want your electric supply. I want your ports. We're going to call it privatization. You're going to tell the people that you're ruining these enterprises and you're going to sell them to me really cheap. You get it, Alex? That's all this is. It's one big operation. They call them banks. They're loan sharks.
Well, Gerald,
and they want their money.
And what's even crazier is they didn't even loan us real money. They're actually the banks that created the derivatives. They get bailed out with our money, and then we pay taxes and interest on the money we give them. And I was reading in Illinois, they admit the housing market is completely dead. There's a triple dip. It's one of the worst in the country. And they announced, we're raising your property taxes across the board. And they actually said, look, we'll just take your house. We don't care if you're 85 years old. We'll send by a SWAT team to literally murder you if you don't come out. So, I mean, going back to the Italian mafia or other organized crime I've seen, they're not even that hardcore with old people. And you're right. It's all these little criminal bankers with red carpets. And we just have to sit there while they gang rape us. But is there no end to what they'll get away with, Gerald?
Well, you can see what's going on. And that's what all of these protests, these Occupy movements. Oh, by the way, we were down on the Occupy scene, and we have somebody down there virtually every day. But when I went down there, a number of people came up to me, and they said how they love your show and seeing me on your show, and they were asking that you go there. So I just want to let you know that you have a lot of fans out there on the Occupy Wall Street, New York scene. And that's what you're seeing, this Occupy movement. It's bigger than that. You know, we've been talking about this. Go back to last December. you started seeing riots in Tunisia. What did the prostitutes say? I'll tell you who them rioters are. Them is Islamo-fascists, they told us. Then you saw the riots breaking out in Egypt. It's them Muslim brotherhoods. And then they happen in Bahrain. It's them Iranians that are behind all this unrest. And then it happens in Yemen. These are people that want to stop our guy over there, Saleha, who's helping us in the war on terror. They're Al-Qaeda people. And then it happens over in the UK this summer. Them people's out in the street are hooligans, they says. And then it happens over in Greece. You know who them Greeks are? Those are anarchists. We've said it from the beginning. Go back to the Autumn Trends Journal of 2010. Off with their heads 2.0 was the headline. When the money stops flowing down to the man on the street, the blood starts flowing in the streets. That's what's going on now. It's all connected. The riots that are going on around the world, this isn't the old feudalism where we had the aristocracy and a bunch of us dumb peasants. Now we're educated and we know the score. Everybody at the top of the pyramid got all the dough and you have nothing. And you have all of these college students holding university degrees in worthlessness that know what the story is. They've become indentured servants. On average, student debt is $25,000. The student debt burden in the United States alone is greater than all the credit card debt that everybody has accumulated. So what you're seeing, young people with no future in front of them, the unemployed, the unemployable, the very angry, and it's worldwide. They know they have no future, and you have a bunch of money junkies at the top that want it all. And again, when you look what's going on in Greece, there cannot be a better analogy, a better showing of the loss of democracy. When here you have the cradle of democracy, as I said, being robbed by the bankers, the politicians and the bureaucrats, telling the people, you're not going to vote on this. Our boys already voted. So that's what's going on. Again, fascism is running wild.
Well, that was my next question. I mean, I've heard Bloomberg on XM, CNBC in the last month talking about Europe, and they're like, it's terrible if the Germans vote to not create this new economic union, and the Vatican's calling for world government and all this, but it's terrible that people might actually vote out of this. And I've actually heard on multiple channels go, don't worry, we'll get it one way or the other. I mean, it's just they're open crooks now everywhere, literally rubbing their hands together about how we're their slaves in public.
I watched this guy, Larry Kudlow, on CNBC. I can take a couple of minutes of these shows. I'm all in favor of democracy, he says. Oh, great. Glad to hear that, Larry. But, this is no time for them Greek people to vote. Oh, yeah? Who are these people that keep telling us what we should do? Like listening to that guy, Eric Kitty Cantor over there, and Boner, the guy from the GOP leader in the House. And the pizza king over there, Kane, running for president. If the people want to protest, they should go to Washington. Who are you to tell people what they should do? Where do these politicians come off telling us what we should do? And that's what's going on now. You're seeing the beginning of the first great war of the 21st century. It's underway. Add it up. Add it up. Tunisia, Egypt, Yemen, Bahrain, Morocco, Syria, Libya. Riots in Greece, riots in the UK, riots in Italy, strikes everywhere, Occupy movements in 80 countries, in 1,117 cities. The people are angry. It's running out of control. And unfortunately, there are a group of police that have become nothing more than enforcers for the political and financial crime bosses. So you're going to see a war break out, and it's happening now. And what we're saying is that violence is not going to work. They're going to win. They're going to outpower you. This has to be an intellectual revolution. And I keep saying, oh, and again, look how they freaked out when, and that's why the stock market went up yesterday. The good news that the Greek people would not have a say in the austerity measures. So what we're saying, let the people vote.
I also hear this cliche that, well, the Greeks, they're all lazy, which is just pure baloney. Or again, the system tries to co-opt Occupy Wall Street so it can then, legitimately be criticized as some elements of it being collectivist or whatever. But overall, it's just people that are upset about Wall Street taking over Washington, inducing Washington to give them tens of trillions of our tax money. And then all these fake conservatives get up and criticize anybody, who wants to shut down the corruption in Wall Street as communists when it's the opposite. And then there's this whole let them eat cake attitude, Gerald. And it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier by the minute. How far can this go? Because, you say that the system would win, at least in, large confrontations of violence. But sometimes, like Ceausescu, they do one atrocity too far. They beat up too many crowds. The police and military see what their country's being turned into and turn against them. I'm not saying that that's coming. But as this becomes more and more naked, as the system openly pushes tyranny and tyrannizing the public, there's just going to be a lot of people who don't comply, who don't go along, who refuse to serve government bureaucrats. Ventura had his suit thrown out. You don't even get a day in court. Federal court's not the place to talk about the federal power grab. The TSA is now setting up checkpoints on the highways. They've got a FEMA takeover drill coming up in just 5 days of all communications. They're announcing microphones to be on the street lights listening to us. I mean, it's like a hallucination. I mean, it's one thing to intellectually know all this is coming, but as it arrives, Gerald, it's just like, it's already this crazy. How much more science fiction-y is this going to get?
You have psychopaths and sociopaths in charge. I mean, look at them. Just roll off the names. Look at the faces. Sarkozy, Cameron, two little tough boys that start wars. They've probably never been in a schoolyard fight, but they're willing to send other people to go fight and bleed and die and kill, thousands of people. So they have no conscience. Look what's going on with the wars in Afghanistan. 10 years, and they roll out these Boy Scouts like Petraeus, as they call them in the New York Times, a Boy Scout charm. Oh, wonderful. Remember this cat said that, we're making impressive progress over there. Now they make him the head of the CIA. That war's going on for 10 years. How many tens of thousands of people killed, both on their side and all the wounded people and ruined for life and dead from our side? How about that wonderful Iraq war? Oh, you remember, Alex. They had weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda over there. We ruined the entire country, depleted